Welcome back to the deep dive. Ever find yourself typing a word, maybe like unnecessary or separate, and you just stop? Like you stare at it thinking, does that actually look right? Yeah, me too. So today we're diving into English spelling. It's this linguistic maze that seems to trip up pretty much everyone sometimes, even with all the spell checkers and stuff we have now. So we're going to try and untangle a few things. Like, why do English words often look so, well, weird compared to how they sound? And maybe the biggest question for you listening, how can you actually genuinely get better at it? Become a stronger speller? Okay, let's unpack this.
It really can feel like a maze, can it? But digging into this is, I think, super important if you want to communicate clearly, confidently. Language, when we write it, it's visual, right? And understanding that visual side is key. So yeah, our mission today is basically to cut through some of that confusion, give you some practical ways to navigate all the quirks of English spelling.
Okay, so let's start basic. Spelling, we know it's arranging letters correctly. F-R-I-E-N-D makes friend. Simple enough. But the real hang-up, the thing that gets us with English, is why that correct way often feels so random, doesn't it? It's definitely not always just writing down what you hear.
Exactly. You hit the nail on the head. Some languages are beautifully phonetic, what you hear. That's pretty much what you write. Simple. English. Nope. Not so much. It didn't quite get that memo. And the main reason it's such a tricky beast, really, is its history. It's like a linguistic melting pot. Over hundreds of years, English basically just grabbed words, like voraciously, from everywhere. Latin, French, German, Greek, you name it. And each language brought its own spelling rules along for the ride. So what happened? Well, you end up with the same sound being spelled in loads of different ways. Think about the shy sound. You've got shoe, S-H, sugar, S-U, nation, T-I-O-N, conscious, S-C-I. 4 spellings, 1 sound. And then the flip side happens too. The same letters can sound totally different. That off sequence is a classic. Though, through, rough, bow, cough. It's wild. So the big question becomes, how do we even navigate this rich, but really inconsistent linguistic soup we've inherited?
That melting pot idea really explains a lot, but it does make me think. With autocorrect now and predictive text everywhere, is spelling still that critical? I mean, couldn't you argue that, okay, maybe a few typos slip through, especially in just like a quick text or email, but people still get the meaning right?
That's a really common question. A fair one, too. But the answer, maybe surprisingly, is yes. It absolutely still matters, maybe even more sometimes. Because technology helps, but it's definitely not perfect. And think beyond just, whether the message gets across. Good spelling sends these subtle signals. When your writing's clean, no errors, it just flows for the reader. Their brain isn't tripping over mistakes, it just absorbs your message smoothly. And that seamlessness, it subtly says, this person is precise, they care, they're trustworthy. It builds this kind of deeper credibility. It shows you respect the reader's time too. And beyond those subtle cues, there are definitely areas where it's still absolutely essential. Think about professional stuff, emails, reports, any kind of formal writing. Precision there just builds that air of professionalism. It's also huge for academics. Standardized tests like Ielts, TOEFL, the ASAT. A spelling mistake can literally cost you points. And obviously essays, reports for school or uni. And the really basic stuff like job applications, resumes. If that's full of spelling errors, it just doesn't make a good first impression, does it?
It's just maybe you don't pay attention to detail.
Yeah, you're so right. That tiny shift, one wrong letter, can totally change everything. I know I've definitely sent messages where, whoops, wrong homophone, like writing their T-H-E-R-E when you meant their T-H-E-I-R, or loose L-O-S-E instead of lose L-O-S-E. The meaning just flips completely. It can lead to real miscommunication or, just feeling a bit embarrassed afterwards. So how do these little things impact your clarity, your credibility day to day? It really just boils down to making sure your message lands exactly how you meant it to. No accidental meanings or confusion.
Okay, so I know we've talked a bit about the history, the challenges, and it might sound, a bit intimidating, but here's the good news. Despite all the trickiness, and there are always exceptions, English spelling does have patterns. There are helpful rules. This is where it actually gets quite interesting, because it's not just about memorizing endless lists. There are rules that can genuinely guide you. Let's break down a few of the big ones. First up, the classic I before E except after C. Probably the most famous mnemonic, right? A little memory aid. And it works a lot. Think, believe, relief, peace. I before E. Simple. But the rule itself tells you the main exception. After a C. Then it flips. Like in receive, receiving. It's R-E-C-E-I-V-E. C, E before after C.
Right, okay, that one I remember from school.
Exactly. Then you've got rules for adding suffixes, those bits you stick on the end, like ing or dead. If a word ends in a silent E, you usually drop the final E. So make becomes making. M-A-K-I-N-G. The E disappears. Love becomes loving. L-O-V-I-N-G. That silent E just gets out of the way. Think drive to driving.
Makes sense, it flows better.
Yeah. A common mistake is keeping it, like writing coming. It's coming. C-O-M-I-N-G. Easy fix once you know the rule. Then there's doubling consonants. You often double the final consonant before adding a suffix that starts with a vowel, but there's a condition. It usually applies to short words that end in a consonant-vowel-consonant pattern, like run, R-U-N, consonant-vowel-consonant, add ing and it becomes running, double N. Same with sit, S-I-T becomes sitting, double T. Why? It helps keep that short vowel sound. If you didn't double it, ruining might sound like ruining. The doubling keeps it as running.
Ah, okay, that explains why sometimes you double and sometimes you don't.
Precisely. Plural rules are another big area. Most words just add an S. Book becomes books. Easy. But if the word ends in S, X, or ch, you usually add S. Box becomes boxes. Church becomes churches. It's mostly about pronunciation. Try saying boxes without that E. It's awkward, right? The S makes it smooth.
Yeah, church would be weird.
Exactly. And one more key one. Change Y to I before adding suffixes. If a word ends in Y, like happy, and you add ear, it becomes happier. H-A-P-P-I-D-R. The Y changes to I. Same with carry plus E. Becomes carried. C-A-R-R-A-E. The main exceptions here are if the suffix starts with I like carrying, you keep the Y, or if the Y comes after a vowel, like in play, which becomes played, not played.
Okay, wow. So there are actual patterns.
Yeah.
It's not total chaos. These rules might have exceptions, but they give you a pretty solid foundation, a kind of compass. And speaking of variations, it gets even more interesting because correct spelling isn't even the same everywhere, is it? Depends where you are in the world.
Absolutely. That's a huge point. The biggest difference most people run into is British versus American English spelling. Take color. In the UK, it's C-O-L-O-U-R with a U.
Yeah.
In the US, they drop the U, C-O-L-O-R, or words ending in I's in British English, like organize, O-R-G-A-N-I-S-E. In American English, that often becomes allies, organize, O-R-G-A-N-I-Z-E, like realize versus realize. And another common one is words like center, C-E-N-T-R-E, in the UK. But in the US, it's C-E-N-T-E-R. Their ending flips to
So which one should you, the listener, actually use then? Like you said, it really just depends on who you're talking to, your audience. If you're doing something like the Ielts exam, maybe aiming for a UK university or just writing for Brits, stick with British spelling. But if you're working for a US company or taking the SATs or your audience is mainly American, then American spelling is probably the way to go.
Exactly. The most critical thing, honestly, is just be consistent. Pick one style for whatever you're writing, an email, an essay, whatever, and stick with it. Don't chop and change between color and color in the same document. That just looks messy and kind of confusing for the reader.
Okay, that makes sense. Consistency is key. So we've gone through the why, the history, the importance, even the variations. But now for the really practical bit. For you listening, how do you actually take all this and use it? How do you level up your spelling game, move from just knowing about it to actually doing it better?
Right. It really comes down to building good habits. Consistent, deliberate practice. First tip, and maybe the nicest one, read more. Seriously. The more you expose your brain to correctly spelled words, just seeing them in context, the more it starts to internalize what looks right. It's almost like passive learning. Even just reading 5 or 10 minutes more each day makes a difference.
Yeah, you just sort of absorb it.
Exactly. Second, and just as vital, write often. Practice makes perfect, or at least much better. Whether it's journaling, writing blog posts, even just thinking a bit more about your social media captions, the physical act of typing or writing helps lock those patterns into your memory. Try writing things that are a bit longer than just quick texts sometimes.
Get those fingers moving.
Yep. Third, use spelling apps and games, but smartly. Tools like Grammarly are great. They don't just fix errors, they often explain why it's an error, which helps you learn. And games, from places like Magoosh or WordUp can make it fun. Turns practice from a chore into more of a challenge. Good for active recall.
Make it less like homework.
Right. Fourth, really work on learning those spelling patterns we talked about. Don't just memorize whole words, break them down. Look for syllables, root words, prefixes, suffixes, like unnecessary. You see, unnecessary. Knowing nessus has 1 C and 2 S helps hugely. It makes big words less scary.
Kind of like decoding them.
Exactly. Fifth, Embrace mnemonics. Those silly little memory tricks, they really work, especially for awkward words. I always messed up separate until someone told me there's a rat in SEPARAT, SEPARATE. Sounds daft, but it sticks. Or for necessary. Remember, one collar, two sleeves, one C, two S's, or rhythm. Rhythm helps your two hips move. RHYTHM. Find tricks that work for you.
Huh, I like the rhythm one.
They're memorable. Sixth, pay super close attention to homophones. Words that sound the same but aren't there. There. Your. Autocorrect often misses these because technically each spelling is a real word, so you have to know the difference based on the meaning, the context. Just pause and think, which one do I actually mean?
That was a big one. Autocorrect won't save you there.
No, it won't. And finally, number 7, keep a personal spelling list. This is really effective. Anytime you struggle with a word or get one wrong, jot it down. Maybe it's definitely or occurrence or accommodation. Keep a running list on your phone or notebook. Look at it once a week. Quiz yourself. That active recall really cements it, targets your specific weak spots.
Those are all fantastic, really practical tips, things anyone can actually start doing today.
Yeah.
Which is great. And just as useful as knowing what to do is knowing what not to do, right? Let's quickly cover some common mistakes, the pitfalls people fall into, the quick don'ts that can hold you back.
Yeah, good point. Okay, quick don'ts. First big one, don't only rely on autocorrect. It's helpful, yes, a safety net.
Yep.
But it's not a replacement for actually knowing the spelling. Like we just said with homophones, it misses context errors. It doesn't know your intent. So use it, but don't let it make you lazy about learning.
Don't outsource your brain completely.
Exactly. Second, don't skip proofreading. Please, always double check your writing. Before you hit send, before you submit, just a quick read through. Sometimes reading it backwards, sentence by sentence, helps you spot things because it breaks the natural flow. Your brain often sees what it expects to see, not what's actually typed. Give your eyes a fresh look.
Good tip. Reading backward.
It works. And finally, don't ignore your mistakes. Every error is a learning chance. If autocorrect just fixes something and you don't stop to think, oh, why was that wrong? You've missed an opportunity. It kind of raises that question. Are you really learning from the mistake or just fixing it and moving on? Try to understand why it was wrong. Note it down, maybe. That's how you genuinely improve and build that spelling muscle. So really, to wrap all this up, the main thing I want people to take away is this. Spelling is a skill. It's not some magic talent you're born with or without. It is absolutely something anyone can get better at. It just takes that consistent practice, using some smart strategies like we talked about, and honestly, a bit of patience with yourself. It's a journey.
That's such a brilliant way to put it. It's a skill, not a talent. That feels much more achievable, doesn't it? Mastery is within reach if you put in the effort. And it's cool to think that by digging into these spelling patterns, you're not just learning to spell correctly. You're actually getting little glimpses into how the language itself grew and changed over time. And being precise in your writing, it doesn't just make you clearer to others. It kind of sharpens your own thinking, too. Forces you to be a bit more deliberate. So here's a little challenge for you this week. As you're reading emails, articles, whatever, just notice the homophones. See if you can spot why there or there was used in that specific context. It's a great way to keep those spelling muscles working.